Have you ever felt like you were being watched even when you were alone? I never thought it would happen to me until it did. My name is Thomas, and I'm just like any other man living in the suburbs, trying to get by in a world that often seems like it's moving too fast. My life was calm, ordinary, until the shadow started following me. It didn't make sense at first, just a fleeting feeling that something was off. I'd be walking down the hallway or sitting in my living room, and for a split second I'd feel like I wasn't alone. I'd glance around and everything would seem normal, except for the corner of my eye where I thought I saw something. I couldn't be sure, but it always felt like there was something waiting just beyond my sight, something not quite there. I tried to brush it off. The house was old, the shadows were long, and maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. But then it started to grow. It started one evening as I walked down the narrow hallway toward the kitchen. It was late, the soft glow of the street light outside casting just enough light to make the shadows dance. As I passed by the mirror hanging at the end of the hall, I saw it. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light. But no. In the reflection, there was something moving behind me, a shadow darker than the rest. It was there, hanging just on the edge of the frame, a figure that didn't quite match my movements. I turned quickly, but there was nothing there. I chalked it up to my mind playing tricks. After all, I had been working late for days, and stress can do strange things to your mind. But it didn't stop. Every day I began to notice the shadow more and more. It started to move with me, following my every step. At first, it was subtle, just a slight shift in the corner of my vision. But each time I looked away, each time I thought I saw it, the shadow became more distinct. It was no longer just a shape in the corner of the room. It was something more, something solid. It started to appear when I wasn't near a mirror or reflective surface. It was there in the corner of the room, standing still, just out of sight. It wasn't my shadow. I could see my own clearly, cast by the dim lights around the house. This one moved on its own. I began to question my sanity. Was I imagining it? But no, it was real. The shadow would follow me even when I was alone. I would leave the house and walk down the street, and it would be there, just a little behind me, barely noticeable unless you paid attention. The feeling it gave me wasn't one of comfort. No, it was suffocating, oppressive, like a weight pressing down on my chest. Every time I turned around, every time I glanced over my shoulder, I expected it to be there, lurking, waiting. But when I looked, it was always just beyond my reach. I couldn't escape it. The more I tried to ignore it, the stronger it became. It wasn't like any shadow I had ever seen. It didn't mimic my movements perfectly anymore. It started to do things on its own, shifting, stretching, jerking out of sync with my own motions. I would turn a corner and it would be waiting, not where I had left it, but in a different spot. I'd blink and it would be closer. I started to feel like I was being stalked, hunted by something I couldn't see. I wasn't just imagining it anymore. It was real. The shadow was alive and it was following me. One evening, I was sitting on the couch, trying to distract myself with a book, but I couldn't concentrate. The air was thick with tension, the feeling of being watched so overwhelming it felt like my skin was crawling. I couldn't help it anymore. I had to look. I stood and turned to face the hallway, my heart pounding in my chest. The shadow was there. It was darker than the surrounding room, its shape vaguely humanoid but distorted, its edges blurred as if it were somehow wrong. I could see its twisted form stretching across the walls as if it were reaching for me. Its movements were no longer just subtle. It was deliberate now, taking steps as I stood frozen, unable to move. I tried to run, but my legs felt like they were filled with lead. I stumbled down the hallway toward the door, but no matter how fast I moved, the shadow stayed with me. It wasn't just following me anymore, it was closing in, moving faster than I could. Every time I looked back, it was closer. My breath came in shallow gasps as I reached for the doorknob. But just as my fingers brushed the cold metal, I heard it, the whisper. It was faint at first, but it was unmistakable. Come back. I spun around, my heart racing. The shadow had stretched itself out across the floor, growing larger with each passing second. It was no longer a mere trick of the light. It was a presence, something that should not exist in this world. I could feel it pulling me, dragging me toward it. My legs buckled and I collapsed onto the floor, my body trembling in fear. The whisper grew louder. Come back. Then something happened that I couldn't explain. The room seemed to darken, the walls closing in, the floor beneath me shifting like it was moving, pulling away from the walls. It felt like the house itself was alive, reacting to the shadow. I reached out toward the door, but it was too late. The shadow was there, its form solidifying, growing darker, more defined, until it loomed over me. I could feel its presence pressing against my chest, suffocating me. And then it spoke. "You're mine now." It was the last thing I heard before everything went black. The next thing I knew, I was standing in front of the same door, but something was wrong. The room felt different. The shadows had shifted. I wasn't alone. The air was thick with a presence that wasn't mine. And then I felt it again, the shadow. It was behind me. It never left. I tried to run, but the door was locked. I couldn't escape. The shadow was with me, inside me, and I couldn't outrun it. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The last thing I remember was the cold hand on my shoulder, the whisper in my ear. "You're mine now." And now I wait. Every day it gets closer. The shadow is always watching. It's waiting for the moment I let my guard down. I'm no longer just being followed. I'm being claimed. And soon it will be your turn.